This is Reality with Partiality. Together with our guest, Garfuna Dutchess. And Garfuna Dutchess, we're delighted to have you, as our guest today. And usually I prepare a little teaser, so I'm just going to go ahead with your kind permission to present it. A human being is a creature. Creature, you see, simply means created, a product of God's created universe, thereby having a nature that comes with a physical body and mind, through which she can choose to govern him or herself. Most people govern themselves through their physical body and mind, as opposed to their spirit, because that is the option, to live through your spirit. The operative word is choose. So, given a human being is also God-breathed and therefore born with a spirit nature at the core, they have that option to operate through their physical body and mind or through their spirit. A human being is like an onion layered with five sheets, one inside the other. The outermost layer is the physical body, inside of which the mental body, inside of which there's the energy body, inside of which there's a transient body, which is the ghost most people see when they fail to properly dispose of the remains of their dead relatives and so on. And inside of that is the core, the spirit, which is non-physical, obviously. And so our spirit has no boundaries. That's the difference between living in the physical realm as opposed to living in the spirit realm. Everything in the physical realm has boundaries. In the spirit realm, one is free to grow and expand limitlessly. So, a devotee to spirituality has that option and chooses that option to live through his or her spirit, thereby governing his or her life that way, and then become like a vehicle on four wheels, governing by the spirit, and the body and energy system as the two back wheels, the thought and emotion at the front. A devotee to spirituality is one who is enlightened and having journeyed inward, then consciously makes and takes decisions consciously as opposed to compulsively in thought and behavior. So logic, which requires reasoning and understanding, is one of the two ways of perception. Ivan, I know you're hearing, but we're still not seeing your, for some reason, you're having problems with visibility. So logic, which requires reasoning and understanding, is one of the two ways a person can, one of two ways a person can perceive. For the only other way a person can perceive is through experience, without any need for understanding. So experience produces both legal and spiritual knowledge, likened to, in a hypothetical sense, the experience of a one-night stand with a prostitute. You see, that is valid legally as well as spiritually, through the experience. But it is the same way that you can know God. So the same way you can know a prostitute is the same way you can know God, who is a spirit, only by experience, the experience of a relationship. And it is the very same way you get to know yourself. Through the way you think, the way you feel, the way you experience life, all occur from within yourself. That is how Duchess is seeing me, and I am seeing her right now, from within myself, through the retina, and all experiences are born within the person. So today, Duchess, we're pleased to have you, a devotee you being a devotee to spirituality and an expert in Garifuna spirituality, one who continues to deepen your vast amount of experience as you actively immerse yourself in the Garifuna culture, traveling from one country to the next where Garifuna would dwell, and getting your hands-on experience and sharing about your experiences, writing about them. To my mind, Garifuna Dutchess, you have found your niche. I have no other person that I know of that has this particular niche. So, Garifuna Dutchess, welcome. So, please, your presentation about your early childhood, maybe we can start there.
Well, good morning. Thank you for
Good
having
morning.
me. Thank you for
Yes.
having me on this platform, and thank you for having me on your show. Um, I start off by saying it's very early here where I am, but I'm up
Okay.
and I'm
Yes.
fired up.
Yes.
um, so I go by the name Garfuna Dutchess,
Mhm.
and I was born in Belize. My formative years were very strong and solid.
Yes.
Um, my mother is from Saint Bite,
Mhm.
and my father is from Hopkins. The generation of Lewis's in Hopkins run very deep.
Mhm.
They can be traced all the way back to um, the beginning of, when the defunct, the now defunct village, Newtown, that they
Yes.
referred to as Yoton. My ancestors were a part of that community,
Yes.
and then eventually when Uganda came to be in existence. So I have a very deep rooting from my ancestry in Hopkins.
Mhm.
My Palacios side of my family, that is the Lewis side of my family in
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
My Palacio side of my family, which is my mother's family, my maternal side,
Mhm.
they've also had a very deep root in Saint Bite, which is in
Yes.
the the peninsula,
Mhm.
and they lived on a sprawling, I would call it an estate, there from the sea to the lagoon, and
Yes.
so. That is, I would say, when we visited our grandparents, those years were pretty good. We were young. I'm not sure how the conversation went,
Mhm.
but I suppose that it was probably just more understood that the children who, I'm talking about my mother and her siblings, whoever had children, it was just understood that the summertime or the holiday times was for the grandparents because we were all just always seem to be there, like during the summer or something like that. Um,
Yes.
I just want to say something because
Go ahead. Mhm.
those years, I think about my uncles, Justin and Marion, two of my uncles particularly, um, who were probably teenage men back then.
Mhm.
And I would say that I was probably about 5. And I
Okay.
would remember they would take us on the lagoon in the boat at
Mhm.
sunset. And
Mhm.
they were such pranksters. But looking at them from my lens, they just seemed like they were really grown men. But they were, I mean, they were teenage men, and they didn't,
Yes.
they weren't married, they didn't have children,
Mhm.
and they doted on us, on their nieces and nephews. And those were really, really, really formidable years that were positive to shape who I am today. um, Getting up in the morning and going to pick krabu and fighting with the
Mhm.
mosquitoes, and because we wanted to have stuff to eat, and the syringola tree and the cashew trees, a lot of those trees are still there today.
Yes.
I was there recently, and I always make it the point to walk the grounds, and it always brings me back to that childhood.
Mhm.
Um, my experience in Hopkins, I didn't spend a lot of time there. but I do remember my grandparents were doting parents. Marcella
Yes.
Lewis is my grandmother, um,
Okay.
and uh, and Victor Lewis Japaz was is my grandfather. That is my
Hmm.
father's. Those are my father's parents, and
Yes.
he he was the alcalde of the village. He was the
Hmm.
postman. He was the telephone operator. He was the law and order. He was everything before Yagata became much more, developed than what it
Yes.
is today. So that's what I would say I remember about my childhood, my early childhood.
Well, Hopkins, he's
Hopkins.
spoken of a lot on our show, Sunday show with Robert Mariano, the mayor, two-term,
Mm-hmm.
in the context of fluency in Garfuna Duo, in particular the language and lifestyle. So it is seen, in the opinion of most Garinagu, as the model of um, how everyday Garinagu live the culture, speaking fluently, Wadorogu, dress wear,
Mm-hmm.
Weigi, and so on. So it's so important to hear that your grounding, your early childhood is there with your roots.
Mm.
And I hear you say Lewis. I know a former Senator Lewis and so on. He's my friend, probably a relative too. But yeah, because the you know. But speak to that a little bit. The Garfna duo in Hopkins, the lifestyle, if you will.
The times that I remember going to Hopkins, I was born and partly raised out west,
Yes.
in Belize. So going to
Uh-huh.
Hopkins, the first time I went to Hopkins, I believe I was about 7 years old, that I remember, that
Okay.
I recall. My sister recently told me that I was taken there when I was younger, but I don't have a recollection. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about my recollection of going there. Like I
Yes.
said, my grandparents were very doting, but one of the things that I noticed that everybody there
Mm-hmm.
at that time spoke Garifuna, and
Yes.
you were, I wouldn't use the word force, but you were strongly encouraged
Yes.
to
Yes.
communicate that way. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to speak Garifuna, and I understood way less than what I know now. Um, but as much as I struggled, and it was gentle, it wasn't, they didn't make you feel like it was a punishment. um
Mm-hmm.
I remember the thatch roofs, the thatch houses. I remember the sand that was the street and the pathway. I remember that
Okay.
people used to go to farms.
Mm-hmm.
And incidentally, now when you, from my lens then to now, the farm just seems so far,
Mm-hmm.
because the roads weren't paved, and to get to the farm, you literally would get up early in the morning and go on foot, is how they went there.
Do
Uh,
you
and go ahead.
do you remember a point when you became determined to immerse yourself in the Garifuna duo, the culture?
Yes. So I would say that that would, in my mid-teens,
Mm-hmm.
um I would say, yeah, in my mid-teens. By then I was already living here in the States. I'd been here already, and growing up here in the States, I grew up in a very a traditional Garifuna home, a Belizean home.
Mm-hmm.
um while we did assimilate, in the home, we tried to have a sense of the foundational and the ancestry and the essence of who we are as a people.
Yes.
My
Yes.
mom spoke to us in Garifuna,
Mm-hmm.
and for the most part, and we that's what we ate at home. We would eat rice
Mm-hmm.
and beans and fried jack, and
Okay.
on a
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, ma would make it at the rasa or hudut, you know or sometimes we just had takeout Chinese food. um, but being here, I think I was about 16 or maybe 17 years old, when
Mm-hmm.
I really started to want to learn. First, it was just wanting to learn the language, and it was
Mm-hmm.
more listening to the music every chance I got, so that
Yes,
I felt like that was a way that I could connect to start to learn to speak the language.
that's interesting because now you're you migrated to the United States. But what to do? Dabuya there's no Dabuya in the United States
Mhm.
where you know the center of our Garfuna spirituality. So where did your experience come about with that?
Well, over time, I think I always was intuitive in many ways.
Hmm.
I grew up in a home, we didn't talk about spirituality, but I
Okay.
know that um, probably I know for a fact that the reason was
Hmm.
because we didn't really know much about it. We knew we were
Okay.
Garifuna, but we did not talk about spirituality. It just was not the thing. So I didn't know anything about it. My mom knew very little as well.
Hmm.
It was something that we felt was respected, though. um,
Hmm.
and so I would say, over time, I would say things to my mom, and she would always, and then maybe it would come to pass, and she would say, "Ida lesa basubusiru na lira na mulelwa." How did you
Yes.
know that? And I
Yes.
never really gave much thought to it. I would just be like, I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, but so I think that there was a sense that I was being guided from early on before I could even make
Mm.
sense of what it was, before I even recognized it, or before I realized that I was being taken on a different path, and that my trajectory of what I thought my life was supposed to look like was going to be.
Mhm.
Um, by I would say about about a dozen years now, about 12 years ago, is
Mhm.
when things really start coming to a head.
Mhm.
When the dreams were becoming very vivid and profound, to the point that it was
Mhm.
very numbing and very scary. And things started to happen to me
Okay.
that could
Okay.
not be ignored. It just could
Mhm.
not be ignored.
Mhm.
I think the years before that, it felt subtle. It didn't felt like it was anything that would have been interrupting or jarring, that would have allowed me to say, aha, something is going on here. But so once those things started, um, it started almost with a lot of upheaval. So things
Mm.
will,
Mm.
because now your life has to, whatever your situation is, they have to start breaking that down. So the
Yes. Yes. Yes.
trajectory has to change. And with that, a lot of physical changes has to occur,
Mm.
before you can see spiritually what is going on.
So in the beginning, did you was there someone who was able to interpret for you? Okay, this is what it is, or did you just follow your path?
When things got start getting to ahead to a point, I, always solicited the help of my mother, and she was becoming fast overwhelmed too, because she was not equipped to help me or give me
Mm.
answers to what was going on with me. And she
Okay.
did reach out to a particular person who also happens to be a family member here
Mm-hmm.
in where I live.
Yeah.
And she promised that she would come to see about me. And to this day, it never happened. So what starts happening is that in 2015,
Okay.
our family, the Palacio family, had a
Mm-hmm.
degu. So
Okay.
around 2013 and 2014, we started to make plans. We were planning a whole like 2 years before.
Yes, yes.
Tabunun with Dabuiba same baby, the Dabuiba had to be
Mm-hmm.
built. And so we were doing massive fundraisings and things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
By the time July 2015 rolled around, um, in essence, including my mother, we were learning a lot about ourselves, about our culture, and our rooted ancestry, who our
Yes.
ancestors were, and how we were going to navigate. So, going to the Dugu and participating,
Mm-hmm.
um, eh, I had formed some relationships that would become very important for me, um, about a year or two later, when I needed to reach out because the dreams were pretty vivid. I felt like I was being transported, but I wrote about this in my first book, my
Mm-hmm.
spiritual journey, a symbiotic relationship with my ancestors. But I was physically laying in my bed in the wee hours of the morning, but I could physically feel like I was elsewhere. Um, so I reached out to an Ebu, um, and basically I was told that I needed to come to Belize ASAP. And
Mm-hmm.
so I prepared to go to Belize. And I believe this was in the early fall of 2017 is when I
Okay.
would say. But
Mm-hmm.
the year before that, the end of 2015 and 2016, a lot happened in between then. I was very ill.
What is an
And
Ebu? Who is an Ebu?
an Ebu is, well, let me put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Not all not all Ebus are Buyes,
Got
but
you. Okay.
all Buyes are Ebus.
Got you. Got you. Got
Uh-huh.
you. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So an Ebu is a Buye also.
They can be.
Can be. I got
They
you.
can
Okay.
be. Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I reached out to this
Mm-hmm.
particular Ebu that I'm talking about is a Buye.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I reached out to as this spiritual guide or the spiritual leader
Mm-hmm.
to assist me. And I end up going to Belize. And upon my arrival, we had a discussion, a deep, meaningful discussion. And he was basically the one interpreting a lot of what I had been experiencing for about 6 months to a year, more than a year, of the experiences and stuff that I was having. And that basically was, I would say, that was the pivoting moment that I knew then I was going to take actionable plan for what was going on, because I was basically being called. And
Yes. Yes.
so that would be the actionable part. But before that, I was already
Go
being
ahead.
guided. Yes, I was already
Yes.
being guided.
Yes. So your leadership in a specific area was taking shape there, right?
Yes.
Onwe Hatibu-san, was there any point in time when you were in the Dabuyaba between 2015, 2017, 2019, wherever, where you had that experience? Um, I know some Garnagu don't like when we say, that Abuye, but the closest word to Buye is high priest or high priestess. Then we don't say temple, we say the Buyaba. So,
Right.
but I just for non-Garinagu speakers, I'm trying to find matching words as close as we can, but we don't. Yeah, go ahead, but so Onwahate, you said you had, and then again, Onwahane is like a trance, but we don't use those words. Um, 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 it's definitely an out of body experience. So talk to us about that experience.
So I would have there was a particular day. And I believe this was before I even made it to Belize. That was within that year and a half period that I'm speaking about,
Mm-hmm.
where it was building up momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember waking up in the middle of the night
Mm-hmm.
and feeling very inebriated, extremely just drunk,
Okay.
and
Okay.
having a lot of difficulty, getting out of bed. And I'd never
Mm-hmm.
had that experience before. So that was the beginning of that. And that lasted for about 12 hours. And there were specific things that they wanted me to do, like I had to put on my clothes. I was instructed to do that, tie my head. I attempted to
Yes.
go to work out of defiance. That did not work. I found
Mm-hmm.
myself at the fish market and basically came home and cooked some hudud. I ate
Mm-hmm.
and then I
Mm-hmm.
went to sleep. And when I woke up, it never happened. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
so that was the first that I could remember. Yes, I have. Oh, I hadn't. I have before, a couple of times. Not a lot of times, but I have. Um, One experience that I can talk about was when I was in Kusuna,
Mm-hmm.
Honduras, when I was being initiated.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember seeing things start shifting, and it's like the vision going blur, and I felt like I was being pushed from behind. It was,
Yes.
so now it's a feeling like the like your body is a conduit, it's a medium, and it's like that force is
Mm-hmm.
trying to enter into your body. I could feel the force from the back, like I was being pushed. And
Mm-hmm.
then things just start blurring, and just seeing like it's moving. And then I don't really remember much from there.
Okay. Um, we're getting into the crunch. So, home for us, your leadership calling, when you got it, you knew you had it. But then you started to deepen it on the ground and then becoming this expert to where as you authored and stuff like that. But so comb that journey for us of your leadership journey.
um Once I start traveling and being called to travel to go to places I had never been physically, I chronicle all that in my books.
Mhm.
But going to Kasuna was born out of a dream with an ancestor that I kept seeing and guiding me to a place that I had never been before.
Mhm.
We ended up in Sangrelaya only because we were working with physical information that we had at the time that our Palacio family was from there, which turned out that they're not from necessarily Sangrelaya, but they're from that region, from Punta Piedra.
Mhm.
And going there was fraught with a lot of its own detours. And I started to do the thing that you would do is document, because I wanted to be able to find my way back. So I would document
Okay.
which bus I took and how did
Mhm.
I go and things like that. And I
Mhm.
suppose that I was being guided to start writing a book, because at some point, which was around after I came back in 2018 when I made that first trip, I was being pushed to start writing. And so that following year is when I actually start putting stuff on paper. But 2020, when COVID, when we were under shelter in place,
Yes.
um, that is when that book was written in about 3 weeks. Um, and from then, I was being some of the series of dreams that I had. I remember one dream being like I would have these classroom sessions. Didn't feel like I was physically sitting in a classroom, but it was a lot of teaching. I'd be woken up in the middle of the night, and that's when knowledge was being passed on. Alagad hani subudi lumafrinde.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we seek knowledge to
Yes.
learn.
Yes.
And I've always, the rally from my ancestors has always been to share, because a gift is not of our own. And a
Mm-hmm.
gift is, I can't do anything with the gift if I don't share it. It's very
Yes.
limited what I can do for myself, but I suppose there's a lot more that I can do if I share or if I help someone. And so I always say that this is just my little portion, my contribution to humanity. This is my little portion of my contribution to humanity.
Yes. Your specific one of a kind contribution for as an individual, you are indivisible, having found your niche. Speaking of, it is Garifuna spirituality. So define, distinguish what is Garifuna spirituality.
Let me start off with just saying spirituality. Spirituality is a freeness and a oneness with the universe, with the creator, with God. Um, there are no necessarily rules. You get to explore people, places, things, different facets of existence to become the best version of yourself,
Mhm.
compared to what religion offers, which is a boxed set of rules or indoctrination. Um, Garifuna spirituality is our belief system. It's anchored in Sunti Gabafu, who
Mhm.
is the creator and above all of everything we know we that exists in where we are in this space. He is, I use the word he, uh, the creator is above any and everything. And in our spirituality, we practice we practice how we can harness the best of ourselves to co-create with the universe, to co-create with God, and past, present, and future exist all in one. And that would be the simplest way to talk about it.
and you and you remind me of the drums because we have past, present, and future in our drum.
And
Awesome.
I mean, I could go further and say,
Go.
through the rituals
Yeah.
and the master ceremonies and master rituals,
Yes, yes, yes,
we
yes,
are
yes.
able to harness these things.
Yes. Okay. Chronicle your writings, your books. Tell us, introduce briefly, but go ahead.
Yeah. So my first book, A Symbiotic Relationship with My Ancestors, My Spiritual Journey, is now 5 years old. I can't believe it. It just literally, this past May was 5 years since that book dropped. And in that book, I spoke about the struggles and my vulnerability, about coming forward and sharing what my lived experiences were, and the things that I knew and the things that I didn't understand was also documented in there. And then my second book, My Spiritual Journey, Knowledge and Guidance, Volume 2, spoke a lot about the lessons and my evolution, and looking back, contrasting and probably comparing some of the experiences that I've had. And I would say present day, when I go back and I've read My Spiritual Journey, A Symbiotic Relationship with My Ancestors, some of the experiences or the encounters that I had back then now seem very elementary. But when I was in those experiences, it was overwhelming at the time. So I know that a lot of growth has happened. Um, my third book is it's coming together. 336 days. And it is chronicling my experience that I had for my year-long experience that I was in Belize, almost a year, and
Mhm.
a lot of my spiritual insight, that I've come to know and the things that they've shared with me thus far. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm hoping that as excited as I feel, that my readers are going to be, they will feel the love and the excitement and the hard work that I've put into this book.
Yes. Okay, we're getting close to the end of our time. I've seen you on the ground in Guatemala, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Honduras.
Yes.
Euromay?
I've never been to Uruguay physically, but I have been there spiritually.
Not Nicaragua? Not yet.
I've been to Nicaragua. I've been to the Orinoco, um, and some of the other settlements, Garfuna settlements there, Marshall Point, um, La Fe, which is not much is at in La Fe, but Marshall Point, I've been there. I stayed I flew into Managua and
Okay.
then took a water taxi, a Pangas, to the Orinoco. I've been there. Yes.
Have you been on, I'm sure you've been on the speaking circuit about
Yes.
Garfuna Duo. Tell
Yes.
us about that. Tell us about that.
Um, I was invited. I do. I would say a couple years ago, I was doing a lot more public speaking.
Mhm.
Um, but one of the ones that remains very dear to me is being invited to be a guest speaker for Black History Month
Okay.
with the Underground Railroad,
Ah,
which is out of um, upstate New York,
okay. Okay.
um, Niagara Falls area.
Mhm.
And so I gave a a presentation about Garifuna, who we are as a people, what we believe, what we hold sacred, what we hold dear, what we practice in Garifuna Dwo, in Garifuna, because Garifuna Dwo is a lifestyle. It is
Yes.
not just a fad or a fashion statement. It is,
Mhm.
you embody and you encompass this um, as your true essence.
Yes. Yes. Ah, and your closing statement.
What I have tried to do is to really make Garfina spirituality and the idea about it to be something that is inviting and to break down these walls of whatever fear has been placed there about who we are as a people and why we practice Garfina spirituality and the sacredness of what it is that we do, whether it's in the confines of a Dabuyaba, which is our sacred space, or in any other setting where we may be practicing not necessarily ceremonies or rituals, but just where we gather as a people with one common um, uh, essence of who we are. Um, Breaking down these barriers and letting people understand that it is a beautiful experience if you can allow yourself to be open to the idea to experience it. Because Garifuna spirituality has has been shrouded in the darkness of indoctrination, um, particularly in Belize, with being colonized and probably back from St. Vincent days of our ancestors fighting for and not surrendering to just so that they could, earn their sense of their space and ultimately being exiled. And we are still a people who are thriving today and who are still existing under the very comfort and the umbrella that our ancestors fought for.
Okay. Your contact details, where they can find your works, your books, etc.
Well, I am on just about all the platforms. My handle is Garfuna Dutchess. On Instagram, I do have my page, Garfuna Dutchess, and I also have a book page, pen pen name Garfuna Dutchess. You can find me there. You can find me on YouTube. And if anybody wants to send me an email, it's penthestory@gmail.com. And I keep myself visible enough, and not as much as I would like. But there's a lot that I'm working on behind the scenes, and so I can't wait to share. Besides the book, there are other things that are coming down the pipeline, and so we'll just have to wait and see.
So that is the vision going forward. More of the same.
Um, there's some evolution happening. But once things are solidified, then I will talk about it. So we'll just have to wait and see.
There you go. An element of surprise, right? It's been our pleasure having Garifuna Dutchess on the set. Thank you, Nomada. We will continue our discussion backstage briefly, if you don't mind.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Okay.